We can't always get what we want in life, though we try and we try and we try. But in our gardens, we always find what we need. It's the enriching nourishment of body, mind and soul, from growing plants in the smallest doorstep container to enjoying the expansive rose-laden Rambler. And sometimes what we need is fizzy energy from intense colours and the buzz of vibrant surroundings. Dynamic interplay of saturated colourways recharge us with renewed vitality, giving us the zeal for action and to tackle jobs up and down the garden, like deadheading the lilac as soon as it's finished flowering. Or mowing the daisy lawn to keep those sweet blooms coming. And sometimes we crave a more soothing pastel palette and the atmosphere of calm and tranquility imbued by muted petal shades and delicate fragrance. In our small garden in Kent, southeast England, there are no rigid distinctions between these different components of our container garden on the patio. Our display is a blend of the punchy and the peaceful. So depending on our frame of mind, we focus on and delight in the elements that suit the mood of the moment and the call of the heart. But I love the possibility of moving containers and arranging them to create distinct colour zones, and this was an inspirational approach displayed in a container garden by Hamzah-Adam Desai at the fabulous Chelsea Flower Show in May. The Peace of Mind Garden explored colour therapy and the impact of colour on human perception and well-being. Planting followed the stages of the colour wheel, and I thought how this unusual idea could be an effective concept to embrace because it can also be scaled up to incorporate large swathes of plants in each colour segment, or scaled down to use individual specimens depending on the size of your plot, and is not limited to container gardening but would be equally impactful in beds and borders, either in a circular form or linear layout. The secret to success is to include abundant leafage in layers of lush fronds, filigree forms and textural tapestry, providing verdant elegance to balance the paint box of pure colour. It's a way to embrace multiple psychological effects, including the warmth and optimism of yellow and orange, said to influence brain receptors to engender a positive mindset, and green, demonstrated by research to measurably reduce our stress levels, and blue, which appears to enhance performance on creative tasks, with purple hues promoting thoughtfulness and self-reflection, pink reducing anxiety, and red shown to enhance our attention to detail in our environment. Back in our own garden, there is one flower that before it first opens keeps us guessing just exactly where it will fall on the colour wheel, namely the Shirley Poppy, whose hairy burgeoning buds gently split at the seams to reveal silky blooms in a single colour or combination of crimson, scarlet, light to deep pink and pearlescent petals. Every blooming Shirley Poppy feels like a small triumph because slugs here can devour entire batches of seedlings in a single night. For this reason, even though they are fully UK hardy, we often have them germinating indoors on a windowsill. The specimens in flower now were sown last October. And these smaller developing plants come from seeds sown in March that germinated on the windowsill alongside our tender annuals like Cosmos. When the March sown poppies flower, since they are a cultivar new to our garden called Amazing Grey, they will add a blue tone spectrum to our Shirley Poppy colour wheel. I utterly adore blue flowers, so I'm really excited at the prospect of pretty blue-grey poppies later in the summer. But right now in early June, there are already blues and many other gorgeous hues, shapes and textures to admire and enjoy. So let's apple pea ferns see what's growing in our garden right now. For me, there exists a series of parallel rose universes. The ultimate universe can be found in high horticulture, places like the Great Pavilion at the Chelsea Flower Show, with its surreally perfect, intensely perfumed rose displays, lavishly layered sets of romance, artistry and theatricality from iconic British rose breeders, David Austin, Peter Beals and Harkness roses. This, as you've probably spotted, was the David Austin display. We were completely charmed by Shrub Rose, Queen of Sweden, and excited to appreciate the beauty of the rose planted in our garden in early spring, which we are going to tell you more about in a rose-filled moment. This is Emily Brontë. And of course, roses are a key design and sensory element in many gorgeous gold medal winning gardens outside the pavilion. A relaxing armchair on a lush balcony with books to lose oneself in while being gently enveloped by the scent of a bewitching violet-petalled rambler. This is the ultimate parallel rose universe. The next rose universe has many dimensions but is not three-dimensional. It is a world captured by the artist's skillful brushstrokes at a perfect moment in time. And one of my favourite flower paintings is the sumptuous scene by Croyer with its glorious Alba Maxima rose framing the reclining figure of his wife, relaxing and reading in a deck chair with a contented dozing dog curled at her feet. I think the mood and atmosphere of this exquisitely evocative painting, more than any other, is what I try to capture in our real-world rose universe. Our tumbling old-world Rambler rose, Rambling Rector, is rather high maintenance in a small space, needing 2 trims per year, a light late summer cut and a more intense autumn pruning back. But as its heady, sweet, musky scent drifts over the garden, the maintenance is forgotten in the pure pleasure of fragrant, abundant blooms and happy pollinators. Ever yearning for that romantic atmosphere roses seem to saturate the surrounding space with, in March we planted a David Austin rose named after English author Emily Brontë. Now, Emily Brontë is in mine and probably most people's minds inextricably linked to the harsh, dramatic moorland scenery of her Gothic novel Wuthering Heights. And I recall my English teacher at school describing how the soundtrack of Emily's childhood was the rhythmic, rather foreboding tap of the stonemason's chisel working on gravestones at her clergyman father's churchyard. So a stunning shrub rose was not my immediate association with this Gothic author, but her namesake is a thing of generous charm, undeniable beauty, and delicious fragrance. And like the reserved personality of Emily Brontë herself, her rose hides the deepest core of her being beneath many layers. Emily Brontë grows to about 4 feet high and 3.5 feet wide, and I did have reservations about planting a medium-sized rose in a container, knowing that I would have to be very attentive in providing sufficient moisture, because roses, especially in porous clay containers like ours, are thirsty plants. The David Austin video I watched recommends a container of at least 45 centimeters wide and deep with good drainage holes, and to plant the roots in a 50-50 mix of general purpose peat-free compost and John Innes No. 3, a nutrient-rich mature plant compost. So I ticked those boxes, providing an even larger container. But I left out an important planting stage. I completely forgot to first apply to the roots my mycorrhizal fungi to help create vigorous root systems and a healthier, more floriferous plant. So the rose had to forego that benefit, but I did at least remember to make use of the fungi instead on the root system of our new quince, which I planted a few days later. Our rose sits in full sun for at least 6 hours a day on the patio, so after planting I felt satisfied that I'd provided optimal conditions, and during a long spell of fine weather everything was flourishing. And then, because we are in the real world rose universe, unexpectedly fierce winds came gusting in from the west, then the east, then the west again, and left the whole bush drooping and battered, requiring a rather inelegant set of metal supports to prop everything up. So I realised the one factor I had entirely overlooked was shelter, because we do sometimes experience quite a magnified and destructive vortex of wind on this patio, at its most intense exactly where the rose and the quince are positioned. But I am reluctant to move Emily, because the rose is located where it can be enjoyed from both the patio table outdoors and the dining table indoors. So I will just have to compromise with supports. Perhaps I can find some pretty willow versions that fit with the romantic cottage garden ideal of the rose. The real world rose universe can never consistently offer that perfect moment in time, but perhaps reality is all the more precious for the transient visions of perfection it charms us with. Please be aware LED lighting in the following footage creates a flashing effect. Foxgloves proved a pivotal plant in designer gardens at the Chelsea Flower Show this year, their softly majestic spires adding vertical punctuation to the plantscape, with a presence that is pleasingly wild yet intriguingly architectural. But did you know that in parts of England, our native foxgloves were once regarded as an omen of war? The year in which the First World War broke out, 1914, was a record one for foxgloves, and the proliferation of these flowers did not bode well in parts of the country. It was noted by one lady folklorist that in Staffordshire an old man remarked of the flowers at the time, "I don't like them, missus. They mean war. Them foxgloves is soldiers." And the foxglove association with warlike attributes has a long history, dating back to ancient Roman mythology, which travelled to these shores with the invading Roman army almost 2,000 years ago. By some accounts, Mars, the god of war, was born fatherless to Juno, who used mysterious conceptive powers of the foxglove, eschewing the need for male fertility. Through foxglove potency, Juno gave birth to the protector of soldiers and supreme symbol of military might and power, Mars. In these globally unsettling times, seeing foxgloves in profusion in the English countryside, one cannot help but reflect on the old superstitions that they are a portend of conflict. But this is Chelsea, and it is not my intention to dwell further on such thoughts, because these iconic flowers, one of the most poisonous and healing plants of the British Isles, also have a long tradition of positive magical association in English folklore, such as the power to protect a home if planted near the door. In our own garden, I love the mysterious and otherworldly ambience our foxgloves create. They are a cultivar of the native species, Dottie White, growing in the shady, lush and leafy pocket of our garden. They take an otherwise slightly unfocused area where the leafy canopy conceals a tangled little nook for fledgling birds to sit safe from predators in the living hurdles of twisted honeysuckle branches, and transform it into an irresistible destination that draws one over to watch contented bumblebees foraging amongst the spars of prettily patterned bells. Incorporated into our patio flower display, the foxgloves shake off their woodland magic and exude a sparkling cottage garden charm. They are intriguing floral chameleons and can be used for a whimsical mood, as a smart structural highlight, or to create a traditional feel. The Dottie series, which includes delicious pastel shades, are fast growers that will flower in their first year for instant rewards. In the garden, as at Chelsea, the foxglove generates love, not war.
Do you like foxgloves?
Oh, I'm not mad keen on them.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
The light is really nice, isn't it?
Perfect, yeah.
Makes it really soft.
We're back to Country Garden.
Yeah. Earlier, and I said to somebody, it's a dog. We know those definitely each type. I was like, oh, okay, that's the expensive. Yeah. But that I don't know, but it's definitely a dogwood. Yes, isn't it? Yeah.
I'd never seen it before.
Yeah.
That's everywhere.
Question: what do the following have in common? The architecture of the Palace of Versailles, the grand staircase aboard the doomed Titanic, the impressive frontage of great houses in England and great gardens, the German city of Koblenz, and 2 gold medal winning garden designs at the Chelsea Flower Show. Kazuyuki Ishihara's harmonious masterpiece that also won Chelsea Garden of the Year plus the People's Choice Award. And the beautifully immersive container garden created by his talented garden designer son, Jun Ishihara. And I don't think this young man received enough credit, because can you imagine the pressure he experienced in upholding the family standards of design, atmosphere and attention to detail, not least because, in Monty Don's words, Mr. Ishihara is simply a part of Chelsea. The answer to the question lies in the energy flow. What unites all these elements is the confluence of direction and movement from 2 sources coming together into the space. So in the immersive green cocoon of the secret base container garden, a secluded outdoor sensory room drawing on our deep innate connection to the natural world, the sublime water features either side transport the flow towards one another for double the energy and acoustic impact, creating a refreshing yet soothing surround sound experience where the use of natural materials makes the space feel utterly uncontrived, as though this modern container garden evolved from an ancient landscape. And it tells a story. There is a sense of gentle sentimentality about the parent and child stone frogs, symbol of luck and safety. There is a confident homage to his father's iconic moss balls, and a convincing sense of mindful moments spent tending plants. This is a place to be in nature and to spend time creating artistry with nature. In the Master's Garden, artistry abounded in every element: leaf, twig, stone and shadow. Mr. Ishihara's 17th design at Chelsea, and the first time he has ever created on Main Avenue. In this harmonious Japanese tea garden, the space is grounded by artfully positioned characterful stones, meditative raked gravel, exquisite planting including signature aces and irises, which always feel fresh and youthful amongst ancient materials, and the dual energy of converging streams that descend from waterfalls either side of the garden. balanced by calm pools of raked stone. The space is designed to evoke a sense of release from worldly cares on the meandering journey through the garden to the tea house, to arrive refreshed and calm for the tea ceremony. The bewitchingly quirky elegance of Sicilian Honey Garlic candelabras has been a joy in the garden this May and June, and with the weather turning decidedly wet now, the bees have appreciated the sheltering umbrellas of undiluted nectar. The honey garlic was a popular designer choice at Chelsea, featured in many show gardens, usually with a bee in attendance. This unfussy and robust bulbous herbaceous perennial suits any type of soil and even survived the winter in our poorly drained bed of clay at the bottom of the garden. Growing happily in full sun or partial shade, it will, once established, be a drought-tolerant toughie. Did you notice this enterprising bee used the umbellifer for a successful entry and then got grass seed stuck on his leg and had to fly off? Life's irritations aren't just for humans. In our gardens, we all experience irritations from time to time, but in partnership with nature, we can overcome them. I feared we would lose our Salvia armistad when a fierce gust of wind split the double-branching main stem in two before my eyes, but each split portion was still attached to the base, so I pushed the stems back together, wrapped electrical tape tightly around the split, then secured with garden wire. Not the most elegant-looking solution, but the plant is now flourishing. As you see, the rose petals are beginning their confetti flutter as spent flowers blow on the breeze. The lavender rondel is building in colour. It won't be long before the blue haze reaches its full delightful intensity, and the opium poppies, grown from seed from a friend, are rather lovely and certainly pleasing the bees. We hope you have found pleasure in our early June tour. Thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have your company. Until we see you next time, we wish you all flowerful times and nature-soothed minds.